Here we go again.
Here I am, making another video that should not have to be made. Another video that requires merely an ounce of basketball knowledge. Another video that is sparked from the insolence of a former NBA player. But here we are. Over the past week or so, the greatest NBA player and defensive lockdown of all time, in some reality out there, Patrick Beverley, made his rounds in the NBA media. Okay, but seriously, Pat Bev was no slouch. He made it to the NBA and made all defensive teams. He averaged 40 in high school. He truly was a phenomenal role player in the NBA and brought a much needed passion to all teams he played for. But in making his rounds in the media, he broke an unspoken rule of respect in the NBA, and that's talking down on the next generation in public media as a former NBA player. And once you cross that line, your opinions become more and more invalidated. We've seen it happen to Shaq. We've seen it happen to Charles Barkley. We've seen many NBA greats become media heads and ruin their overall credibility on basketball analysts matters, and Pat Bev may be next up. This all started when Patrick Beverley, rightfully, questioned the level of intensity that NBA players play with in the All-Star game. Trae replied to this, urging Pat to let the All-Stars speak for themselves, a harmless comment that could have been clarified with an off-camera text or message. But Pat took it personal. He proceeded to go on his podcast and state that Trae Young has not won enough to speak to him like that.
I don't think he's in a position to speak. I don't think he's won enough to even speak to me like that.
Going on to compare their career accomplishments. Notably, Pat Bev said the following: he's been to the playoffs 3 times. I've been to the playoffs 9 times. He's been in the NBA 7 years. My first 7 years, I didn't miss the playoffs at all in the Western Conference. His rebuttal's probably going to be, yeah, you weren't the main player on the team. Absolutely right, but this is why it's a team. He also put Trae on blast for being a bad teammate, saying that he's received texts from multiple Hawks players who complained about Trae and his leadership.
I've talked to people who played in Atlanta. They don't want to play there. They don't think he's a good leader. They don't think he's a good teammate.
But the important part here is that Pat said this with no source. Oh, McBride scored. Meaning it has no backing. Pat then went on to say that if Trae does not win, he will be forgotten fast.
You can do all that. If you don't win, that won't matter. If you don't win, when you're retired, they're going to forget your name fast.
My question here is, what was the point of running to make a podcast on this matter outside of just wanting attention? I think Pat knew he could turn this into a money opportunity and jumped on it, because in no way, shape, or form could he reasonably think that his mode of response was the best way forward. Nonetheless, Trae Young responded. Oh, did he respond? Absolutely eviscerating Pat Bev with only facts.
Let's get into some more facts, actually. You talk about a winner. What have you won?
And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to also share the truth about the NBA's and MSG's favorite villain, Trae Young.
Bothered by Lou. Iverson. How about that? And that steps over to Lou.
Before we get into the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for the best NBA analysis and rundowns out of the small content creator community. Trae Young and I are alike. He's in a small guard community. I'm in a small content creator community. I make videos. He makes New York Knicks fans cry. That's twin for real. But like, comment, and subscribe.
Just a fact. You want to know another one? You averaged 7 points and 2 assists. I don't even know why I'm doing this.
Going into this video, I could make this a Trae Young versus Pat Bev comparison. I could talk about how Pat averaged 8.2 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, and 2.9 assists per game in the playoffs, while Trae dropped 48 and 11 in his first conference finals game alone. I could talk about how Trae fried Pat whenever they were matched up. I could talk about how in the 122 possessions that Pat Bev guarded Trae Young, Trae averaged 28.8 points per 75 possessions, the highest Pat Bev has allowed a player to average from 2018 to 2024. I could talk about how Trae averaged 12.1 assists per 75 possessions in the possessions he was guarded by Pat, which is also the highest that Pat has ever allowed in his entire career. But a person with a pea-sized rock brain can make that conclusion. So instead, I'm going to focus on Trae alone. Trae Young is an elite engine, and the numbers back that up. Over his career, Trae has averaged 25.3 points per game and 9.8 assists per game. To put that into perspective, Trae ranks 3rd all-time in career assists per game, trailing only Magic Johnson and John Stockton. Trae sits above Oscar Robertson, Isaiah Thomas, not the small one, and Chris Paul. That's Hall of Fame company already. But the difference separating Trae from Magic and Stockton is the raw scoring ability. Magic and Stockton revolutionized passing, and while they could obviously put the ball in the hoop at efficient rates, much of their offensive game was not versatile. This can be charged to the different styles of basketball back in the 80s and 90s. Still, Trae Young is as dynamic of a scorer there is, while remaining one of the league's best passers, leading the league in assists in the 2025 NBA season, shattering the Hawks' all-time assist record in a season that he set. Trae Young's scoring and passing tandem is one that is generational. For starters, Trae Young is 6th in the NBA since 2019 in double-doubles, and that's with primarily having point assist double-doubles. Objectively, point rebound double-doubles are easier, yet Trae still ranks higher. Then, when you restrict the perspective to points and assists, the gap becomes even crazier. Since 2019, Nikola Jokic has put up 142 20-point, 10-assist games, which is second in that time span. In the same time span, Trae has put up 193 20-point, 10-assist games, leading the league by far. Then, when we look at 30-point, 10-assist games in that time frame, here is the graph without Luka and Trae. When we include them, you see how stark the difference is, with Trae leading in that time frame with 91 30-point, 10-assist games. In fact, of all the players in NBA history, Trae ranks 3rd all-time in 30-point, 10-assist games. Yes, you heard that correctly. 3rd all-time. Trae has only played in 7 NBA seasons and is above some scoring and passing greats like Russell Westbrook, Allen Iverson, and Chris Paul. In the 2022 NBA season, Trae Young became the first player since Tiny Nate Archibald in 1973 to lead the league in total points and total assists. In Trae's 4th NBA season, he pulled off a feat that had not been seen in almost 50 years. Think of all the all-time greats to play in that time frame. None can say they did what Trae did, especially not Pat Bev. Additionally, based on Basketball Reference career averages, Trae Young and Oscar Robertson are the only players sitting at 25+ points per game and 9+ assists per game for a career. And Pat said that Trae has not won enough to speak to him? How many only lists does Pat belong to?
Zero.
In only 7 years, Trae Young has edged his name among elite company. And that one conference finals appearance that Pat made a point to emphasize? In only his 3rd NBA season, Trae Young carried his team to the conference finals without an all-star on the team. Along the way, Trae Young fathered the New York Knicks, hitting the Game 1 game winner at MSG to open the 2021 playoffs and become New York's favorite villain. He then led the destruction of Ben Simmons' career against a loaded and heavily favored 76ers team in a road Game 7 in Philly. In that series, he averaged 29 points per game and 10.9 assists per game. Finally, he led his team to eke out 2 conference finals wins against the eventual NBA champions, the Milwaukee Bucks. I noted this earlier, but in his first ever conference finals game, he dropped 48 points and 11 assists at Milwaukee. Since 2007, only 5 stars, LeBron, Dirk, Dame, Jokic, and Trae Young, carried a team to the conference finals without an all-star teammate. Another one of those only lists that Trae is a part of. Empty stats do not win road Game 7s, nor steal Eastern Conference Finals games with 48 points and 11 assists. They also don't put you 3rd all-time in assists per game or make you the first in 49 years to lead the league in total points and assists. The track record contradicts the slander. Even now, Trae sits atop the league in estimated points created. Also, to clarify, the reason why this is estimated is because I did not specifically search for how many assists Trae had that led to 3s or 2s, so I multiplied the assist totals by 2.5 to account for both possibilities. Trae also sits atop the league in estimated clutch points created. So yes, Trae has every right to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. He has every right to do whatever he wants to do. When you sit at the top of a bunch of lists as an undersized guard in a big league, you can roll dice on an opposing team's logo. When you are one of the clutchest players in the league, you can rub your shoulders and coin yourself Ice Trae, which is one of the hardest nicknames in NBA history. When you put yourself aside NBA royalty in only 7 NBA seasons, you can pull up to that dinner table, take your own seat, and sit down. You have the right to act like it. Pat Bev is delusional. And while he is correct that Trae hasn't won a championship, he has won respect. He has won all-time legacy standing. He has won. And that point that Pat Bev made about Trae Young being forgotten fast, I have a question. How can you be forgotten so quickly when you are a part of so many all-time lists? How can you be forgotten so quickly when you are literally cemented in NBA history? How can you be forgotten when what you have accomplished is unforgettable? And one day, a new player will pass some of Trae's records, and Pat Bev will be forced to watch Trae Young's name pop up on his NBA screen, and he may even be forced to watch Trae Young accept his Hall of Fame jacket. If you got to this point, comment down below where you think Trae ranks amongst guards in the NBA. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay true, stay you, from Just Drew.